Edmund rose again, but this time his legs did not tremble, and his sight was clear. He went to a corner of his dungeon, detached a stone, and with it knocked against the wall where the sound came. He struck thrice. At the first blow the sound ceased as if by magic. Edmund listened intently. An hour passed, 2 hours passed, and no sound was heard from the wall. All was silent there. Full of hope, Edmund swallowed a few mouthfuls of bread and water, and, thanks to the vigor of his constitution, found himself well nigh recovered. The day passed away in utter silence. The night came without recurrence of the noise. "It is a prisoner," said Edmund joyfully. His brain was on fire, and life and energy returned. The night passed in perfect silence. Edmund did not close his eyes. In the morning the jailer brought him fresh provisions. He had already devoured those of the previous day. He ate these, listening anxiously for the sound, walking round and round his cell, shaking the iron bars of the loophole, restoring vigor and agility to his limbs by exercise, and so preparing himself for his future destiny. At intervals, he listened to learn if the noise had not begun again, and grew impatient at the prudence of the prisoner, who did not guess he had been disturbed by a captive as anxious for liberty as himself. 3 days passed, 72 long, tedious hours, which he counted off by minutes. At length, one evening, as the jailer was visiting him for the last time that night, Dante, with his ear for the 100th time at the wall, fancied he heard an almost imperceptible movement among the stones. He moved away, walked up and down his cell to collect his thoughts, and then went back and listened. The matter was no longer doubtful. Something was at work on the other side of the wall. The prisoner had discovered the danger, and had substituted a lever for a chisel. Encouraged by this discovery, Edmund determined to assist the indefatigable labor. He began by moving his bed, and looked around for anything with which he could pierce the wall, penetrate the moist cement, and displace a stone. Wow, this really shows the time dilation of a prisoner, I think. The simultaneous patience while the maddening, impatience that they have. The minutia that can come from that. I'm specifically referring to him waiting those 3 days, and Dumas says that he counted those 3 days down, those 72 hours, minute by minute. That would drive most people insane, I think. And what a kind of beautiful juxtaposition to the earlier part of this chapter where Dumas says that Dante, in giving up hope, quit marking off the days on the wall. So now he's not even marking off days, he's marking off minutes in his mind. And I think that is a intentional thing on Dumas' part to show us just what amount of vigor has returned to Dante. It's not just that he is restored, he now has purpose. He now has the energy he never once had since he's entered the prison. Granted, the suspension of disbelief is required a little bit here to go, okay, he built himself up over 3 days after starving himself near death to a place before his former glory. That's a little, I don't know about that. But you know what? We want this for Dante so much that I'm willing to forgive it. And that he's using the bars of his cell to do some exercises and build himself back up. Whatever. If this is a movie, we would montage this or a series of shots this moment, and we wouldn't even question it. So why are we questioning it now? I don't know, because I have 1,500 episodes of this show to fill, and I need to talk about something. And speaking of talking about something, let's just hold this anticipation for what's about to happen here and talk about that more later. And instead, I'm going to pivot and talk a little bit about the Scarlet Pimpernel. I've been teasing it for enough time that I think it's worth mentioning now. As I had previously mentioned, I wanted to have just a kind of comparative text, and we'll have plenty of those along the way as I fully plan to read more Dumas novels. Speaking of Dumas novels, should I go get those at the bookstore? Do you think they're still there at this point? I should go check on that. You know what? After this episode, I'm going to go and check to see if they're still there and torture myself to decide if I want them or not. Anyway, where was I? Scarlet Pimpernel. Right. Okay. This was written in the early 1900s. I want to say 1910, 1913. But it started as a stage play. And then Baroness Orczy, the author, translated it from the stage play to a novel. Now, here's the basic premise. It takes place in the terror of the French Revolution. And just a brief preface on that, because I do actually think it's important for the Count of Monte Cristo that we learn a little bit more about it. The terror part of the French Revolution was when the people started to rise up and there were representative forms of government starting to emerge to challenge the monarchy, led by Robespierre and a handful of other people who we've talked about in the past. They began the days of terror. And this is, when you look at the stereotypes, the cliches of how the French Revolution is depicted in popular media, it's usually from the terror. And it's mostly defined by the guillotine, however you want to pronounce it. I'm a Midwesterner. And so the people were targeting aristocrats, the people that had oppressed them for so long, including high-ups in the monarchy, kings, queens, Marie Antoinette, most popularly, were fed to the guillotine, their heads chopped off, and it was a big spectacle, a thing, bloodthirsty entertainment for the masses. I think it's important for us to know about that a little bit more, because when we talk about the Restoration, we just went through Bonaparte, in the 100 Days, the threat to the monarchy, and before the 100 Days, trying to reestablish Restoration and bring the monarchy back. Bonaparte threatens that. And I think it's not only the threat of Bonaparte, but even after Bonaparte is exiled a second time, the monarchy has to be a little bit afraid of a second terror, that there could be an uprising in which there are going to be mass beheadings again for entertainment at the behest of a bloodthirsty and angry, oppressed people. So it's a delicate balance, and now it makes a little more sense for me as to why they would want to contain Dante. We talked a little bit about why, with Bonaparte exiled a second time, why would they be concerned about Dante conspiring? Bonaparte isn't coming back a second time. It's less about that, I think, and more about he can't conspire because he has, extremist ideas that could lead to something like a second terror. That's what I think is going on here, and why they are so dead set on keeping him contained. I mean, yes, there is the selfish, part that Villefort has kept him contained for, but I think that, the governor, the inspector who came by, all of these people are following these rules as set out by the monarchy in order to protect themselves, protect just the world from having to experience a second terror. Wow, none of that was about the Scarlet Pimpernel. I guess I'll continue that conversation tomorrow. So stay tuned. Oh boy, these cliffhangers. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.